Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to this Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Plell, joined in the studio by Tom Park. We have Mark Boylan on the line as well as Sam Harley from Paddy Power. We're going to look back on the weekend's action, Haydock, the feature meeting and the Sprint Cup of course, but also good action at Kempton and Ascot. Before we take a look at the Doncaster St Ledger meeting, which kicks off this week as well with the main final classic of the season on Saturday, so stick with us for all that. Let's start off then with the Sprint Cup, as I mentioned, won by Hello Yumzane. We had advertising 10 sovereigns, 2 non-runners, so it was thrown wide open parking, lots of interesting betting movement around the race. I think 3 co-favourites they went off at, but I thought he was ultimately pretty impressive.
Yeah, he was. The form was probably there, to tell the truth. I didn't back it, but look, the form through advertising 10 sovereigns, he kind of missed the break in the Commonwealth Cup, which probably put end to any of his chances. He ran well nonetheless. He was in a league of his own. The race was a bit of a rubbish race really for a Grade 1, let's face it. Great to see the Tin Man back to form. He ran really well in defeat, but look, if the Tin Man after his runs this season is all that Hello Yumzane had to beat, it probably turned into a bit of a car crash of a race. Kadem was a little bit, very disappointing. I thought that he was going to be the next big thing after his Stewards Cup win. So yeah, he won by default. Whether I'd be rushing in to be backing him at 5-1 for the Sprint Cup on Champions Day, I'd be very... I still think Advertise, he's probably going to get the soft ground. I don't think 10 Sovereigns might not run it on Champions Day, but Advertise I still think is probably a good bit above these.
Yeah.
But he won very nicely, and it'll be interesting to see. Kevin Ryan's a genius with these, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes.
Yeah, he certainly is. I think one of the best horses he's had since the Grey Gatsby and things like that, so better luck to him in the team. We've said it time and time again, but with Haydock it is one of those tracks, especially if the ground goes soft, where you need a horse that goes on the course, and Hello Yumzane, of course, he had that previous form here in the Sandy Lane, a race that Harry Angel won back in the day before winning this Sprint Cup as well, so it's clearly very key, Mark.
Yeah, it's a help around there indeed. There's plenty of horses to act around there, whether it be national hunt-wise or flat-wise. But I think Thomas mentioned a lot of kind of the factors that you take from it as well. I know that I was disappointed with Dream of Dreams as well. He's just proved a little bit disappointing in this latter half of his campaign. But kudos to Kevin Ryan, and I thought James Dyer in particular from the front was very, very effective. And took a bit of you freshened him up from the Commonwealth Cup. You knew what you were doing and coming here. So. Lots to like about the performance. Again, I'm not too sure what he's going to encounter come Champions Day at Ascot. I know that I think Aidan O'Brien spoke about the Everest down under as a potential option for 10 sovereigns. So you'd have to go into quarantine for that. I don't know where that would leave him for a race like that, but you'd imagine it might kind of put him on the fringes of having to head to Australia and bypass it. But interesting to see how it pans out.
Exactly. Sam, a lot of these horses, the likes of the Tin Man and Dream of Dreams, they're probably going to join him at Ascot on Champions Day in that Champions Sprint, aren't they? Have you got a market?
Yeah, so that Sprint Cup was a funny betting heat actually, with the 3 co-favourites. Hello Yumzane had the form in the book to go and win it on the back of the run in the Commonwealth Cup. We've kind of stayed closely to the form lines with the betting for the Champion Sprint in October. So we have Advertise at 4-1 at the top of the market. We then have 10 Sovereigns and Hello Yumzane at 5s, Dream of Dreams at 7s, and then it's 10 bar. The one that I call out, I have a bit of a soft spot, is the Tin Man. He was kind of slowly away there on Saturday, and he was only beaten a half a length in the end. He actually won this race in Ascot in 2016, so I think there's still 12s out there for him, so I think I'd take a whack each way at him.
Yeah, he always seems to run his race barring the start of this season, doesn't he? He's always been a pretty consistent horse throughout his career, the Tin Man, so great to see him back to form, as we've mentioned. Parky, another big race at Haydock was the Old Borough Cup, the handicap, won by a rising star in Kieran Fallon for Ian Williams. I really liked how, in the finish, he knew he'd got that second horse, All Right Sunshine beat. He put his stick down, he just drove him out, and really straightforward horse, and nice to see Fallon get another good win on his CV.
Yeah, he is a really brilliant jockey, isn't he? Tampa Street's so tough, isn't he? But the way that Ian Williams campaigned this horse to get him off a mark of 93, I think he picked him up in January. He was rated, I think, 101, so he's got him down £8 from that. this time last year, or certainly in the summer, he was high as 108. So to get him down to that kind of mark is pretty unbelievable, really. He's not really been running that badly, bar a mishap in I think it was the Northumberland Plate. He ran pretty poorly in. But look, he's a good horse. He was a good horse for Mark Johnston. To get him off a mark of 93. But yeah, Kieran Fallon, he's different classes, isn't he, when he gets into them driving finishes. I thought that Richard Kingscote gave the Crystal King an enterprising rise. I think he was about 10 lengths clear a 2 furlong.
Do you think he was going to win it?
Well, just because the race earlier on Great Scott he gave an absolute corker of a ride where he rode the pants off them. I just thought, here we go. He is someone who's just brilliant from the front. When you give him that time, and just because he'd done that in the race before, I thought, here we go, they're not going to catch him here. But he was so far ahead. And once they started coming, you knew that
with that visor on, he was big.
Yeah, exactly. But look, I'm a big fan of Time to Study. It'd be interesting to see where they go next with him. I wonder whether they maybe consider. I don't know. I don't think he'd probably be. He was certainly not going to be high enough now for a Melbourne Cup, but the big staying prize is still this season, and I'm sure Ian Williams will find something for him.
Yeah, we're going to talk about one of the staying stars of the season, Stradivarius, a bit later on. I mean, not up to that level, you wouldn't think, but they're very small and competitive fields, those races. So it'll be interesting to see where Time to Study goes.
That's the one that I've marked him down for.
Yeah,
I had a mind blank there. I'm sure he'd probably go up £5 for that. Definitely wouldn't rule him out, the Cesarewitch. He's ran it well in Newmarket before. Yeah,
indeed. Good end of season target in the Cesarewitch. Mark, Parky touched there on Great Scott, and we also had the likes of Pile Driver, who won the Ascendant Stakes at Haydock on Saturday. What was a highlight or an eye catcher from you?
Yeah, I thought the runner-up to Pile Driver was probably the one that sounded cannons. Like the way he
very well backed, wasn't he?
As well. Very well backed, Nathaniel horse of Brian Meehan. Just it's a step up in class, isn't it, when you're going from a maiden of the July course into a race like that. But going forward, if I had to take a horse out of it, I'd nearly take him ahead of the winner. But to echo exactly what Parky said there, I thought Richard Kingscote was outstanding on Great Scott. And I reading the report afterwards, they mentioned there that the gelding procedure was a risk they took, but it certainly paid off. He looks versatile in terms of ground. You'd just be disappointed with Charge of Bridge. Kind of hard to find excuses, and I think veterinary-wise afterwards there was nothing that came to light in the immediate aftermath. And just to touch on them with the Old Borough Cup, I thought this Crystal King, the way he went off in front from a pace perspective, it made it a funny race. I'd say if you're a rider in behind and you're trying to gauge when you go, and are you the one that does the donkey work and trying to cut down the winner, it's quite tricky. So from a race point of view, I thought there might have been a few that you would forgive them for an effort in a race like that, for having to go and chase down one that's that far clear. But it could have been a very shrewd bit of riding from Richard Kingscote of his mount to keep up the gallop. But Time to Study stays well, handles a bit of soft ground too, and very, very game.
Yeah, indeed. Any eye catchers or prices for future targets that we need to know about, Sam?
Yeah, so just on Time to Study there for the Cesar, which we cut him from 33s into 20s. I think he's fairly sort of condition dependent. They actually sent him over to Clairefontaine after Ascot Norkin out for him to a conditions race over there, which he won. That was on very soft ground. And then obviously on the weekend it was soft ground. 1.6 miles seems to be his distance. He was off a mark of 93 on the weekend. He was as high as 108 back of the 4-year-old. So as Parky said, he'd probably go up £5 for the win. So he's probably still well in on his form last year. The other eye catchers for me then were in the Cunard handicap. Salute the Soldier was a game winner, but there was two in behind that I felt fairly bad for, in Ripoff and Escobar, who were both finishing fast at the end. The one that I'd have in the notebook would be Ripoff for the Challenge Cup at the start of October, which he was second in last year. And then just finally, I think the eye-catching ride of the weekend was Ross O'Ryan on Apparate in the Lavazza Stakes. A lot of those young apprentices, once they lose their claim, seem to struggle the year after. He's gone on to ride 49 winners this year. I think there's big things ahead of him. It's only a matter of time before he gets a top job for one of the big yards.
Yeah, he's certainly excelling for a range of trainers, Ross Ryan. It's a nice segue into reviewing Ascot. As Sam said, Salute the Soldier and Apparate, two of the big handicap winners. Salute the Soldier race, that was a fantastic ride from Adam Kirby, but there were maybe it was a bit of a false result in that aspect, that he just dominated from the front.
Could be right. He's another jockey that when he gets time out there, he sometimes takes some pegging back. Yeah, you could be right. He looked like he won with a bit, and he could be something a little bit smelly about it, I suppose. But yeah, be interesting to see how it pans out. I think you've got to go with the form of something like that. He pinched it from the front, yes. Whether you've got to look back at the race and find something from coming from in behind, I suppose.
Yeah, as Sam said, I think Ripoff was quite unlucky, and Apparate again, staying on to beat Persian Moon. That was another really close finish, but progressive, likeable horse.
Yeah, very much so. I'd be a little bit... Persian Moon was a little bit exposed going into that race. There's a few in behind that didn't quite run the race. But another good performance.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of old Rhythmic Intent that ran in behind. I thought he was given a bit of a sort of luckless ride. He'd be one to keep on side next time. Any thoughts on what happened to Ascot, Mark, before we move on to Kempton?
Yeah, no more. Salute the Soldier's attitude. You can't question that at all. Very, very solid. I thought She's Got You was a nice performance as well. Well bred. She's obviously increased her broodmare value. I think she's a half sister to Without Parole. And a good day for Kieran Neal and John Gosden too. I thought the winner of the opener as well, Cherokee Trail, thought that did it nicely, and that definitely went into my notebook for going forward.
Okay, brilliant. We will move on to Kempton then now. The September Stakes was the feature at 2:05, nice and early on, and it was a third victory in the race for John Gosden after winning it with Jack Hobbs in 2015 and Enable last year. First in line was the horse. Did you expect that? Bit of a surprising performance, Parky?
It was a good performance. I didn't expect it. I actually backed Pivoan, who travelled. I was getting rather excited 2 furlongs out, but he didn't quite get home. It was a really, really good performance. I know he's in the Irish Ledger. I was just wondering whether that was still the plan. Maybe the Irish boys will be able to shed some light on that. It was a massively improved performance. I think that he'll definitely be winning races of that kind. He looks a Group horse.
Yeah.
Certainly looks a Group 2 horse in the main, maybe not even better. Really nice turn of foot. Great to see Prince of Arran run so well behind, because he's had a bit of a disappointing season, you could say, but obviously the big target for him is going to be Flemington, and that was a lovely prep run. Nice to see him back at form. He'll have another big chance at in the Melbourne Cup, I think.
Yeah, I thought he ran a really good race in the E-Boy. I actually spoke to Charlie Fellows after that, and he said, he didn't have an ideal prep, and now he's a bit older. They wanted to give him just that other run before sending him over to Australia, so he could be one to keep on side. Royal Line, Mark, can you shed any light on what his future target's going to be? I was quite surprised. He seems a horse who's pretty ground dependent, but he's got a beautiful pedigree, and I got the inclination that maybe even John Gosden wasn't expecting him to win.
Yeah, I think this is a real smart horse, to be honest. A horse that I've had plenty of time for. Like, he's had very, very few miles in the clock for a 5-year-old. And I think it was mentioned afterwards in the post-race comments that if they get a clear rub with him in the second half of the season, it kind of suggests maybe when you look at the breaks he's had in his career in terms of time, you'd imagine maybe that he hasn't been the most easiest to train, perhaps from a physical point of view or from a ground, but I think this 1.5 mile trip is the making of him, and look, whether he can make an immediate impact at a Group 1 sort of level remains to be seen. But I think them sort of races, I'm not necessarily saying the Arc Trial at Newbury, but them sort of Group 3, Group 2s, he just seems the ideal horse that if he stayed sound, that you could plot a campaign where he could really make hay in that department. And I'm not too sure with the Irish Ledger. It's a funny one, you could look at it two ways with a horse like him. You could say, right, we have him now, he's fit now, he's obviously in rude health. Do we kick on with him, or do you look back and do you say, he's had plenty of different layoffs in his career? Do you just not want to rush him and ask him too much in a short space of time, because it would be a quick turnaround from an Irish Ledger point of view, just 8 days. But I really like the horse going forward, and he's only had the 9 runs. Just think he could be a real smart sort if fortune stays on his side in terms of fitness and ground conditions. Yeah,
indeed. Sam, did you shorten him for anything, or what did you make of the action at Kempton as well?
So, Prince of Arran, we have 25-1 for the Melbourne Cup. I think, as Mark was saying, Royal Line was always promised plenty. I know last year when he won the November handicap, everyone was talking about him as a group horse and a handicap at the time. Obviously, didn't come to fruition really this year yet. Obviously, ran 4th in the listed race at Sandown. But yeah, I think there's plenty to come with him. Group 3, Group 2 level towards the end of this year.
Yeah, sure. Before we take a break, I just wanted to mention the London Mile won by Casban and owned by the Horse Watchers Parky. I think They are just such a shrewd outfit, aren't they? Bought the horse for 20,000 guineas. He's now won upwards of 50,000, like £50,000. It's just, they make it look so easy, don't they? He was so impressive. He's going to have a lovely all-weather campaign now, and I mean, ridiculous what they've done in such a short space of time.
Yeah, they make it look easy. If only it was that easy, and we'd all be having a go at it.
Makes me feel like I can just go out and buy a horse and do it.
Exactly. Do you have the 20,000 at hand?
Not quite yet. I'm working on it.
No, yeah, look, brilliant story, brilliant performance. Like, yeah, wouldn't mind a bit of what they're having anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Great for Mick Appleby as well. We had a story on ITV Racing a couple of weeks ago, and a trainer who's clearly overcame a lot, so happy to see him still doing so well. We'll take a quick break now, but before we do, just a reminder, if you're wanting to back any of those horses for future targets, make sure you are a member, because you get access to all our unmissable data, and you can bet through our website and our app.
So, does an each-way bet mean that my horse has to do part of the race in reverse?
Everyone loves a newbie. That's why Paddy Power Games are giving all new customers 60 free spins on daily jackpot games. New Paddy Power Games customers only. One per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to this Monday Postcast. As promised, we're going to take you through Doncaster's St Ledger meeting now, getting underway on Thursday. We've got the Park Hill is the first race that we're going to look at 2:40, and some really good form advertised here in the shape of En Bahar, the Pretty Polly winner, who seems to just take such a huge step forward every time she runs. Sam, any betting on this contest?
Yep, so we have En Bahar at 5-4 favourite. We've Dame Malio at 3-1. We've Manuel Vega at 6s. We've Vivid Diamond and South Sea Pearl at 8s. And then it's 10 barred.
Yeah, En Bahar, she's a really interesting horse, Parky. Brilliant performance at Glorious Goodwood last time. Do you think she was flattered a bit by that, or she just keeps improving?
I just didn't know where that performance came from, because there was not really a hint that was coming. I'm of the look, she's got to give £10 to Dame Malliot. I'm quite happy to put a line through that. I think when you put a line through a run, you've got to be able to do it the other way sometimes. It's clearly a best level of performance. I'd be surprised if she can repeat that again. That was a real top class performance. And might struggle to give Dame Malliot £10. Dame Malliot has been trained for this race. It's always been the plan, I think. She's very impressive at Newmarket. Ran well at Deauville on soft ground, I think, last time. She's proven she's up to this level. I think they're two very good horses. And at the weights, I think Dame Malliot's about £4 behind her on official ratings, was getting £10 here. So when one's 5-4, the other one's 5-2, that's kind of the way that I'm swaying. I think that the handicap has done his job right then. Dame Malliot probably should be slight favourite.
Yeah, I think Frankie Dettori worked miracles to get her up last time at Deauville. I'm not sure if she's still a bit green or whether she just was feeling something that day, but it didn't look likely for a long way. But I do think she's a really progressive, interesting filly, Dame Malliot. Mark, what do you think of En Bahar and the rest of the field?
Yeah, no, listen, you'd have the height of respect for En Bahar. The one I actually like is Delphinia. I thought she ran really well at a huge price in the Oaks. She was 5th and she didn't get a clear passage by any means. And look, she wasn't an unlucky loser, but I think she would have finished closer. And I thought she was eye-catching now on her return from a break in the Give Thanks Stakes at the Group 3 at Cork behind Tarnawa. You know, she was just returning from a break. You'd expect improvement to come naturally enough from that. And I just thought her final furlong was her best one there. That was over 1.5 miles. Thought she saw it out really, really nicely. And it was the first thing that popped into my head once she crossed the line. I thought to myself, geez, this Doncaster race is absolutely tailor-made for just to consider improving it. There's 14-1 available about her out there. I thought that was a huge price. I think she'll be banged there if she lines up.
I really like that. So one at a slightly bigger price if that's what you're after. I mean, the likes of her and En Bahar, they're these big, long striding fillies. You'd think that long straight at Doncaster's going to suit them down to the ground. Sam, any thoughts?
Yes, I couldn't agree with Parky more. I think the top two in En Bahar and Dame Malliot are fairly close in terms of ratings. As he was saying, she's getting £10 off En Bahar this time round. They're tied in fairly closely on the form line of Classique of William Haggis's. I find it hard to split them. To be honest, if I had to pick one, I'd go with Dame Malliot at the prices, purely on the basis of the price difference.
Okay, it's all about the fillies on Thursday, and we'll move on now to the May Hill, not the Park Hill. That was the first one we talked about. Another Group 2, this is over a mile for the juvenile fillies, and a really star-studded field here it could be. We have Cloak of Spirits lining up, really impressive on debut at Ascot. West End Girl, the Sweet Solera winner, as well as the Prestige winner Boomer. Lawrence won this race in 2017, so fingers crossed we'll see another star emerge. Any betting, Sam?
Yeah, so we've Cloak of Spirits in a 5-2 favourite. We've West End Girl 4s, Love 9-2, Boomer 5s, Alpen Rose and Run Wild 6s, and Passion at 8s, and then it's 10-1 bar.
Excellent. Mark, I'm quite excited about this race. What do you think?
Well, I think I overheard you during the break there, and I couldn't be more agreeing with you. I think Boomer's 5-1. I think it's just brilliant value about her. If that's the way you're thinking, is it?
Well, I did back her in the Prestige. I think we were on the tipping Postcast and a few of us were really confident she'd win that. I really do think she's talented, but she's still a bit green. I'm not sure. Maybe this will be sort of... We won't quite see the best of her yet, but I am with you in that I think she's probably one of the most talented in there.
I just think I was impressed with the way she did it. And obviously Dark Lady has gone and franked the form since at Goodwood. But, I just thought she was better in the winning margin. And as you say, she's a work in progress. Like she's going to keep stepping forward at each run, you'd have to imagine, and she kind of has next year written all over. But it's just that this sort of opportunity for her. I think it's a good one that she won't pass up. And at 5-1, I'd definitely be getting involved.
Yeah, I think she's probably slightly on the big side. What do you think, Parky?
I do think she's on the big side. I think this is just a really competitive race. Richard Hannon's 2-year-olds this year have been phenomenal. And look, he taken on Cloak Spirits was so impressive first time out at Ascot.
That looked like a really good race as well, didn't it?
It looked like a really good race. It was a very dominant performance. And just given how he's pitching this filly straight into Group 2 company on the next start, and what he's done with other 2-year-olds that he's had at his disposal this year. However, 5-2 about a horse in a race where we're talking about the likes of Boomer, and the one that I like is Run Wild for John Gosden. This filly's taken a little bit of time to get things right, and she did only win a novice last time out, but the way she won it was so impressive. I think the second in that race is a good horse and will definitely be winning some races as well. They drew I think she won the race by 5 or 6 lengths, but they drew miles clear of the third and the rest of them, and just it was a real performance. And I just think she's improving. When Gosden gets these fillies on a roll, he gets to the bottom of them. They sometimes take some stopping, and the fact that he's pitching her from a novice straight into a Group 2 company, I think they must think quite a bit of her. And that turn of foot she showed at Kempton last time I think it was quite special. So I'm going to take a little bit of a chance. I mean, 6-1, I think she was at 8s earlier in the week, so maybe it's a little bit of money for her. But I'm going to stick it's a tough old race, though, this. I think there are 5 or 6 in there that could be really good fillies.
Yeah, you could quite happily not have a bet and just watch it, couldn't you, with you looking at the future. Sam, Cloak of Spirit, she was so impressive first time out, but I think this is going to be a very tough task.
Yeah, absolutely. Albeit there's quite a few here that are inexperienced. The one that I'd love to back if she was to turn up would be Love, but I think she'll probably turn up in the Moy Glare on Sunday instead. Again, yeah, I think Cloak of Spirit was seriously impressive first time out, especially with Atzini losing his iron at the start of the race and still going on to win by 3.5 lengths. The third from that race, beaten 5 lengths and has since won and is rated 88. I think the step up to a mile will be no problem, and I think there's 7-2 out there, so I think if Love's going to come out and maybe a couple of others, 7-2 is definitely value.
Okay, we'll move on to Friday's action now. We've got different races at the end of the distance spectrum. We'll start off with the Flying Shield as a Group 2 over the 5 furlongs. And we could see Simon Crisford's at Ali here. I know he's in the market. Obviously 5th in the morning last time, but won the Papam before that. Can he bounce back to form, Sam?
Yeah, I definitely think so. We have him in at the top of the market at 6-4. We've Alligator Ali 7-4. Wheels on Fire 7s, Isabeau 10s, Flaming Princess 12s, and Golden Dragon 14s, and then 16 bar.
Okay, and you think it'll be tough to beat?
Yeah, I think you can overlook the last run. Having won the Norfolk and Priestley, went on to the Papan, which was on good soft ground. He was only 5th of 8 in the morning, but was surrounded by some top performers, who I think will be highly in the mix in the Classics next year. I think 6 furlongs on heavy ground probably wasn't to suit. I see the drop down to 5 being much more suitable on nicer ground. I think at 6 to 4 this is a max bet for me. I think Alligator Alley only fell in the last day in what was a poor listed race, so I think Alley should hose in here.
Yeah, he's got that quality about him, hasn't he, Parky? I mean, that was probably one of the best juvenile races of the season, wasn't it? The Earthlight won the Morning.
Yeah, the Morning was a very good race. I do disagree with Sam though. It's Alligator Alley definitely for me. I thought he was incredibly unlucky not to win at Goodwood. I thought he was going to get unlucky again not to win at York, but the way that he won that race at York was mightily impressive. And although the form might be up for questioning, the second did win the Group 3 at Kempton on Saturday. So I think Streamline was the horse that was second.
Yes, in the Serenia Stakes.
Yeah. So the form's been boosted. I just thought it was a massive, massive performance to be more or less taken out the race at the start. I think he just cruised through, and then that turn of foot to do that at York, to go, he was always going to win it for furlong to go. I just think he could be a really exciting sprinter to look forward to, and I think he could end up being really top class. He's just improving with every single run, and I know Joseph was speaking quite highly of him in the Monday Jury in today's paper, and I think he's very good. I think he is very good. Another one for Kingman as well, who seems to be siring them over all sorts of distances.
He can't sire a bad horse, can he, Kingman? Mark, I mean, Alligator Alley, Irish horse, Joseph O'Brien he didn't set the world alight when he first ran, but as Tom says, progressing with every run.
Yeah, no, he's definitely progressed at racing. But his first start, I think, was behind Sunday Sovereign, and it might have been Arizona, was it, that chased him up that day as well when he was fourth, albeit he was well beaten. He wasn't behind bad horses. I think the real improvement side of things that he was just behind the Peckham Pouncer on debut, and he ended up smashing him by 5 lengths at Navan a few starts ago. I wouldn't be as disappointed about the form now as Sam of that Rosa Stakes. I think the John Murphy horse in there as well, Think Big, is no slouch, and obviously, as you mentioned there, the Kempton Group 3 win there, the Serenia Stakes, that would have given it a boost too. I don't know, Ali, I agree with Sam in the sense that I think 6 furlongs heavy ground isn't his bag, but I didn't think it was the trip to call him out on the day. I was just disappointed with him, and I just wonder, he's done he hasn't been totally flat out to the boards campaigned, but I just wonder, is just beginning to take his toll a little bit. Maybe he has a big performance in him again, but I thought going out of Royal Ascot, I said to myself, that's the best 2-year-old performance of the week there. I thought he was the one that could have the potential to go on to be really, really top class going forward, but I've just lost a little bit of faith in him now since, albeit the Deauville penultimate start was smart, but Alligator Alley, I don't think he's value. But if you ask me to pick the most likely winner, it'd be him. Just think he did very, very well, as Tom said, to win last time, and nearly won a Shade Cozy on the line, considering all the interference that he overcame.
So from the sprinting distances to the marathon trip of the Doncaster Cup over 2 miles and 2 furlongs, we get to see Stradivarius again. Parky last ran at Doncaster when he was third in the Ledger. Can he win this again? He's bound to be a short price.
He is bound to be a short price, but there's a reason for that, and he is just a winning machine. Look, you're quite right to point out that he was defeated at Doncaster in his only start, but I just think he's
different horse now.
He's a much better horse, and actually, what is he beaten half a length by Crystal Ocean that day? So it's not exactly bad form.
On the great ledgers, that wasn't it? With Capri, Crystal Ocean, Stradivarius. I think Coronet was behind.
Rekindling.
Yeah.
I mean, it was probably the best St Ledger for a long time. So I certainly wouldn't be crabbing him finishing third in that. He's getting better. That's the thing with Stradivarius. I mean,
do you think he's not just sort of plateaued?
I just think that this is a proper professional who just knows exactly how to win. When they introduced this £1 million bonus last season, I thought that it was going to be literally impossible to win, to have a horse that to keep in that form over running that far.
It twice.
And he's done it twice, so it shows how much I know. I've tried to get him beat this year. DXB's kind of been each way value in the Ascot Gold Cup, and then again at Goodwood you could kind of add a each way bet on him. He's not really now. Stradivarius he is just going to win. I mean, he will lose eventually, but you're going to lose a lot of money chasing, I think. So it's a bit boring, but I mean, how can you take Stradivarius on? He is a winning machine, and it's just brilliant that we've got him running. I mean, I wasn't expecting him to run in this, so
never run it before.
Exactly. So the fact that he's running in this, after all of his exploits all over the rest of the season, he must be in red hot form at home. Because they wouldn't really be rushing him into it. Because good thing is we'll hopefully see him for maybe another season to come too. So, yeah, top class horse. Can't wait for the race. Can't wait to see him out again, and he'll probably win. Yeah,
real fan favourite, isn't he, Mark Stradivarius? I mean, in terms of taking him on, it's getting tougher and tougher. I've had my fingers burnt quite a few times because he's quite deceptive in the way that he'll just win by a little bit, or he won't win pretty these days, but he gets the job done.
Yeah, very same boat as you. I've been in that boat too. I've kind of given up taking him on now at this stage. I think I'm going to start enjoying him rather than trying to oppose him. It's very hard to find flaws in him. I'd absolutely love there to be a race where they go a million miles an hour in front and they really, really try and draw it out of him. Because I think a lot of the time he does kind of tend to sprint. But DXB has tried that. But if you had a little bit of help up front, I'd like to see that scenario where they really, really try to find a flaw, but they could try very hard and find none. He's very, very good. I think maybe if you were been really, really hopeful of one that could, optimistic, I suppose, rather than hopeful, but Barzanti was unlucky in the E-bar. I thought that if he got a clear run, he might have even been second. He would have gone close. I think he's had the door shut in his face on more than one occasion up the straight, coming towards that stand side. Look, he has an absolute mountain to find with Stradivarius. He's only rated 108. He gets £5 from him, but like on ratings, I'd want my head examined even recommending him without in this sort of contest. But without Stradivarius, potentially he could be an angle.
Okay, interesting angle that on Barzanti, as you say, unexposed at this sort of trip and this level. Sam, anything to add?
Not much, Maddie. Reflecting the talk there, we've Stradivarius in a 2-5 favourite, DXB at 9-4, Barzanti and Max Dynamite 16s and 25-1 bar. As you say, he hasn't put a foot wrong all season. It's going to be a small field with the 3-year-olds heading to the Ledger on Saturday. I think, DXB will probably finish looking at the hind end of him once more.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe this 2 mile 2 would suit him more than some of the races, but as Parky pointed out before, Stradivarius hasn't got a problem with 2.5 miles in the Ascot Gold Cup, so there really aren't many chinks in his armour. Of course, the team will be back on Friday to cover Saturday's cards in more detail, but we're going to have a look at the big feature, the final classic of the season, the William Hill St Ledger. Now, Logician, I mean, he'll be bidding to be the first Voltager winner since Lucano in 2007. I'm sure he's bound to be a rock-solid favourite, Sam.
Yeah, he's 6-5 favourite. We've Sir Dragonet in after him at 10-3. We've Il Paradiso 13-2. Saram Priestley 10s, Technician 14s, Booker 16s, and Constantinople and Dashing Willoughby in at 20s.
Yeah, Parky, we were saying during the break, he's a horse that I think the public are going to latch onto. It's Khalid Abdullah Silks. He's a grey roan horse. He's a Frankel. He's John Gosden, Frankie Dettori. He could be a real sort of emerging fan favourite, this guy, I think, if he wins.
He can, and he's kind of taken John Gosden's campaign him slightly different to how he would normally a classic hope. He ran a handicap a couple of starts ago. He's ran off the last race. I think he was only rated 101, so he's kind of improved with every start. Interesting, last time I was looking at the race thinking, well, this horse is rated 101. You've got horses that are miles better and he's a lot shorter in the betting, so you're taking a lot on trust. These things always seem to work out like that way. You should just trust the betting. He made it look very easy.
You think the step up in trip's only going to suit him?
It should suit him, yeah. He looks rock solid. It doesn't look a very good race. I think if there was a few more in there that he probably wouldn't. He maybe doesn't warrant to be as short yet. Let's remember Constantinople, admittedly top weight, did fail to win a handicap at Royal Ascot. So it's the form. It might.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a chance on Sir Dragonet. I just think his run in the Derby wasn't bad. I'm of the opinion that the Derby was a very good race. I know Anthony Van Dyke wasn't very good after. The Irish Derby was a farce of a race. Mad Moon is a very good horse, as we'll get onto later. I just think that Japan's proven very good. I think Broome would be bang there if he was running in this. He was rubbish at the Curragh, let's face it. It was a dreadful performance. Everyone was expecting much better.
In that Royal Whip when he was fourth.
It was probably over a slightly shorter trip than you'd hope. However, I imagine he's just left It's only his first start after the derby. He's probably a little bit undercooked. O'Brien's brilliant at getting them right for the day. If you remember, Kew Gardens wasn't fully wound up for when he ran in the Voltager.
Yeah, behind Old
and he came to the Ledger a completely different horse. And I think that just the money that's come from him over the last week or so, they clearly think that they've got him right. And I just think that Derby form might prove to be a good bit better than Logician's been running in. Logician's still unexposed, but some people will tell me I'm mad, but I think that I'm going to give Sir Dragonet one more chance, I think.
I don't think you're mad at the prices at all. As you say, that form's not left a lot to be desired.
It was a really bad run at the Curragh, though. It was a really... I feel mad myself at putting it up, because I remember watching the race and thinking that horse is just... But then when I just thought about it a bit more, the money's come for him. They clearly think he's got something about him. And as I said, O'Brien's brilliant at getting them right for the day. So the fact that the money's come for him...
yeah.
And he's got a brilliant record in this race, O'Brien.
Exactly. He also has Il Paradiso, who was third in that Lonsdale Cup last time behind Stradivarius and DXB. He came in for a lot of money a couple of weeks ago, Sam, but maybe Sir Dragonet's their number one now.
Yeah, he definitely looks the number one. As Parky was saying, you couldn't be but disappointed with the run at the Curragh. If it was any other yard, you'd probably write him off for this sort of race. But Aidan's sort of renowned for turning these horses around off the back of a break. I think just purely on there being unknowns and questions to answer with Sir Dragonet, I'd probably side with Logician. He's £2 inferior to him on ratings. But I think it's definitely a match bet between the top two. I think it's a very poor renewal of the race. Can't see past the top two.
Okay, Mark, one horse we've not mentioned already, just so we get his name in there. So Ron Priestley, 5 out of 6 this year for Mark Johnston, and won the March Stakes last time. Do you see him figuring a strong stare, a progressive horse?
Progressive, but I don't think he has the same group on potential as a Logician or a Sir Dragonet.
Yeah.
Look, he's a really admirable horse. You'd love to own him, but I think he could come up short a little bit. He won't be for wanting for an attitude, but he could be for ability. For me, Logician, I got shades of kind of Cracksman watching him. Last time, I just think that he's this horse that's going to... I'd love to see him around next year as well. He's just going to keep progressing. I think he could be a bit of a monster, and I have great time for Sir Dragonet too, but I just think in this sort of a test I could see Logician maybe taking him deep into the trenches. And Sir Dragonet, I think 1.5 miles is more a trip than 1.6 miles. I could be wrong on that, but just for me now, I'd be willing to kind of, at the prices initially, what I thought was maybe a Buckhurst each way or Constantinople, but obviously Buckhurst is now out and Constantinople will be going into quarantine for a trip down there. He's now one of the favourites of the Melbourne Cup and is trained by David Hayes down under. I think Coolmore still retained a stake in him, but for me here now, I'm not going to have a bet more than likely, but I really hope the top two, I hope they bring their best and make it into a cracking race. I'd probably just side with Logician, but if it became any bit of a kind of a speed emphasis, I could see Sir Dragonet potentially out quickening him. And I think, echoing what Tom said about him improving from the Curragh, I was there on the day. I hadn't physically seen him in the flesh before, because obviously he'd been over in Epsom and Chester, and I wasn't working at Tipperary the night he was down, but to me he looked a little bit big. I would have thought, without being I don't know the horse inside out, so perhaps it's unfair to maybe that's his own physique, but I just thought physically he would come on for the run to look at him in the paddock. And I naturally enough, when he's back from a break, I'd say they eased off him totally after Epsom, in contrast to Anthony Van Dyke, who they kept going again for the King George, and you saw how that panned out. So I think that they will reap the benefit of being a little bit patient, but for me, just Logician could be the more effective in this sort of test.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also on Saturday, we're going to move on to the Kipco Irish Champion Stakes now. Really good field this potentially, but maybe you were suggesting beforehand, Sam, that some of these could not run. What do you think of the race?
Yeah, so we have Magical in at 7-4, we've Japan 7-2, Headman 9-2, Crystal Ocean and Alarcam 5s, Mad Moon 6s, Circus Maximum 9s, and then it's 10 bar. Notable short one there is Headman. For what he's done to date, there was a lot of money for him last week when it sounded like Japan wasn't going to run. We saw a lot of money again this morning, so my guess would be that the likes of Alarcam and Crystal Ocean are probably going to miss the race. So I think this is going to cut up into a sort of not below par field, but it's not going to be a sort of top-notch race that it could have been if they were all to turn up. I think Magical's probably got to be the one they have to beat. She's clear on the ratings. She doesn't have the Wonder Mare in Enable here to beat, that she's been trying to get beat all throughout the year. I obviously have an involvement in with Mad Moon.
I was going to say, you're chief of that fan club. Can we get an update?
He's absolutely flying at home. He's in rude health. I just think he might just fall short of the likes of Magical here. I think there's 8-1 out there. He's probably a good each way bet at that. But I think more so to fill the places.
Okay. Parky, we were talking about Magical beforehand, and I mean, they keep saying, I thought they were going to campaign her like Found and lots of early season racing, then a big break, then here, and then the Arc. But she seems to just keep on running, even though they said they weren't going to. But, I mean, on form, she's got one of the best chances here.
Very consistent mare. Aidan O'Brien got to the bottom of her last season, and she is top class. She's not world class like Enable. She's maybe a little bit behind Crystal Ocean as well. But look, this race is going to cut up, and her price is probably the one in there that is probably about right. I think that Japan's probably going to swerve this. I think he'll be going to the Arc. Circus Maximus ran on Sunday. Who else have we got in there?
Crystal Ocean, you said.
Crystal Ocean, I don't think he'll be going. Elecam needs to be supplemented. This race is going to cut up massively. And it might cut up so much that we have quite a small field. And my advice would be, I want to enter the Mad Moons fan club, I think. So I think 8-1, man, that's an each way bet when you know that half of them are not going to be running. Again, I think that the Derby form was pretty good. I just really like this horse, and he just didn't quite see out the trip in the Derby. 1 mile 2 is going to be perfect for him. Magical is the bench. It's a very good benchmark, and she might turn out to be a very good bet at 7-4. She had a very hard season, as you pointed out, though. And look, I wouldn't want to be racing against Enable that many times over the course of a season and then coming back. This seems... I always thought that they were going to give her a light campaign, bring her back for the autumn. I was surprised to see her run at York. I think they probably saw
Even in the Eclipse, I mean, they weren't going to run her there, and then they ran her in it.
Yep, exactly. So I just wonder whether they've thought, well, we're not going to beat Enable now. We haven't been able to do it on Enable's first start, so we've tried it and tried again. Maybe this is her arc now, and I just think she's maybe a little bit better over 1.5 miles. So I am keen to take her on here, and I just think that each way, Mad Moon. I do like Headman. I just think that there's question marks about maybe bits of his form that I'd be a little concerned about. But look, the victory at Newbury when he was off top weight, given the top, this turns out to be a good race. Yeah. It has turned out a good race, and look, he's been impressive in France as well. But I just think Mad Moon's rock solid. I can't see him being out the top 3, and at 8-1, you're getting a really good each way bet there.
Yeah, exactly. Mark, I'm a big fan of Headman, but like Parky, I sort of share the view that he's still a baby. I think he's a work in progress. He holds his head a bit high. He comes from last. He's not the sort of most reliable proposition, but I'm really interested to see how he gets on stepped up in class. And I think, even next year, he could be a real proper Group 1 horse.
Yeah, he definitely has the potential to make his presence felt at this sort of level. I'm not too sure whether he'll make it immediately here. I've made no secret of in the past that I'm absolutely dedicated to Mad Moon here, and I thought all season long these conditions are going to be perfect, right up his street, 1.25 miles around the place that he knows best. The whole race, the way it's cutting up, it could just turn into a really, really. Sometimes in racing, when you're going to these meetings and you're hoping for the fairy tale, and you're hoping for the story that everyone wants to come true, but actually it's not even the heart that's telling me that this could come true. I think my head is very, very much thinking this is possible. What I will say about Magical is that I spoke to Aidan before the day she was supplemented for the Yorkshire Oaks. I spoke to him, and I remember he said that they're looking to get a run into her. She was just back from a midsummer break, and he used that phrase that she's ready to start back. So potentially there is improvement to come from Magical, but it has to be a little bit disheartening. I'm sure we were down in Ballydale one of the days for a media morning, and we saw Magical do a piece of work, and she obviously won it very well, and she was very smart in that piece of work, and she left the workhorse well behind. But you have to say it is, when you get to a race course, you keep bumping into Enable. It must be a challenge on a horse to have to try and overcome that then in the heat of battle. And I just think Mad Moon, he's got the pace. He's proven that he stayed further than this, but 10 furlongs is right up his street. I really, really hope that he does, and I really think that he can as well. This would be really, really magic if he could do it.
Okay, lots of love for Mad Moon then. We'll see if he can win that Irish Champion Stakes on Saturday. We'll take a quick break now before we look at some of the midweek action, including part of Listowel's Festival, where we've got the Kerry National.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet the next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to this final instalment of the Monday Postcast, and now we're going to look at some of the midweek action. We've had a look at Doncaster's cards, but there's also a good meeting at Listowel. We're going to get into more detail on their Wednesday and Thursday features, but let's just run you through where we're racing at this week. So tomorrow we have Catterick, Worcester, Leicester and Kelso. Wednesday we have Doncaster, Uttoxeter, Carlisle, Listowel and Kempton. Thursday is Doncaster, Chepstow, Epsom, Listowel, Chelmsford. Friday, Doncaster, Chester, Sandown and Salisbury. Parky, where is your next best at this week?
My next best is at Leicester on Tuesday, 4:55. I'm going to give Breath of Air one last chance. I might need a breath of air after it because I keep backing this thing. Look, he was looking like he was finally getting it together over 7 furlongs. He ran a really nice race, a couple of starts ago, finished 5th. He was backed off the boards last time in a handicap. Back down at 6 furlongs where he disappointed again. He showed enough promise at 7 furlongs to think that he's got a race like this in him. As I said, I've backed him. There was one performance as a juvenile where I thought, he's going to be a really good horse for Charlie Hills, and he's just not really got it together. But
he's a tough horse to follow.
He is a tough horse to follow. As I said, this will be the last chance that I give him. But it's not without promise, and he was really well backed last time out. Makes you think he's well handicapped. I think he is well handicapped. It's just whether he can get it together. And as I said, he showed enough promise over his last couple of starts over 7 furlongs to suggest that is probably his better trip. I think they kind of rushed him into a race over 6 furlongs because he'd kind of shown that promise. I think he's capable of winning this race. I don't think there's much substance. And the Richard Hannon horse was one that caught my eye. I think it's called Chatham House, but I watched that at Brighton the other day where that was really well backed, but they all finished in a big heap. So it makes you suggest he's probably exposed enough. I think he's got a performance better than this in Breath of Air, and he's well handicapped enough to give him another chance.
Okay, I mentioned Listowel. We have the Kerry National on Wednesday, mark over 3 miles, and the Ladbrokes Island Listowel Handicap Hurdle over 2 miles on the Thursday. Any thoughts on those? Some really interesting horses like Move with the Times and Yanworth, who are now with Edna Bolger.
Yeah, sure. Look, it's typically competitive in Ballyosheen. If he was to stay in there, he makes the handicap a very, very difficult thing for everybody because he's got a mark there, I think, of what is it, 167? Would that be correct, I think? So he'd obviously make life tougher for the ones down the bottom in terms of being out of the handicap. One that I really hope gets in is Black Scorpion. He needs 3 to come out at the minute. Heard Eric McNamara speaking on Racing TV the other day, and he said this has been a 12-month plan for him, and he won at the festival last year. I just thought there last time with Killarney he was a real eye catcher. Over 2 mile 1, which wouldn't be his bag at all. He needs further, and just he kept on really nicely, and you just get the impression that getting back here, I don't think the ground he probably would want it on the better side rather than on if it got too deep. And at the stall, you often need your wellies with you, so hopefully it doesn't get too damp. But I just think if he got into the Kerry National, he'd have a real chance for a trainer that's won it 3 times before and that doesn't often leave the Kerry venue empty-handed. So no, I really hope he runs well. And sure, there's a good handicap hurdle down there as well, and I'd be interested in Davis Charm and that as well. Like this horse now, like talk about cliff horse now. I'm looking for the helicopter to pick me up after falling off the cliff. Like it's getting ridiculous at this stage. But he gave me back some bit of return last time at Killarney on the flat. He'd been promising to do that, but I just think I've always thought he's a high class horse. And I think just to mark a 144, I think he's better than that still. And he was 4th in a rough Galway hurdle. Just think he's high class, and confidence was high last time at Killarney on the flat. I hope it's just as high this time.
Okay, so just to clarify for you, the Kerry National is at 4:15 on Wednesday at Listowel, and that Ladbrokes handicap hurdle is the 4:50 again on Thursday at Listowel. So 4:15 for the Kerry National, 4:50 for the handicap hurdle. Sam, we'll go over to you now for your next best.
Yeah, so I'm going to stick at Doncaster on Friday in the Mallard handicap. A horse called Durston, trained by David Simcock. His form's jumping off the page at me. He was second to Sir Ron Priestley the last time out at Goodwood, who's obviously gone on and won a Group 3 since, and is third favourite in the Ledger on Saturday. This horse is rated 100. He's has course form at Doncaster, winning there in June, and sort of been on a strong upward curve as an improving handicapper. Jamie Spencer's on his back, who's obviously been in good form recently. I think he's by a side that's kind of gone on under the radar a bit in See the Moon, who's a stallion I'd like to follow, and I'd encourage people to jump on the 9-2 available out there. I think it's an each way bet to nothing.
Okay, Durst, and that is then for Sam. We'll get the midweek naps now.
This will not be beaten.
Okay, Tom Park.
3:45 Doncaster on Friday. Alligator Alley for me.
Nice and confident in that sprint then. Mark Boylan, who's your nap?
I like Black Looks at Laytown. This horse I've had my hands over my eyes watching it the last twice. Been really, really unlucky. Just think if it took to the beach there on Wednesday, it should have a big chance. There's 2 entries in the 6 furlong handicap at 4 o'clock and the 7 furlong handicap at 6:10. So regardless of whichever spot that he turns up, I may be interested. He looks a really shrewd buy for 1,700 guineas out of Ivan Furtado's stable there for Joseph. So Black Looks for me at Laytown.
Fantastic. I'm glad someone got Laytown in there. Always need to mention brilliant meeting on the sand. And Sam, finally.
Yeah, the 2:10 at Doncaster on Thursday, the filly's nursery, a filly called Galdriel. She's off a mark of 78. She was actually sent off at 10-1 in the Group 3 Albany, so they obviously thought a lot more of her at the start of the year. She's since won her maiden. Kevin Ryan's operating at a 32% strike rate in the last couple of weeks, so at 8-1, she'd be my nap of the week.
Yeah, I backed her for that Albany. Frustrating anyway, but we'll keep our eye on her at Doncaster. That's all we've got time for today. The team will be back on Friday, of course, to preview the action in more detail. We'll see you soon.
Paddy Power Games has over 250 of your favourites to play online, and we're going to attempt to name them all in this 10-second ad before the T's and C's kick in. There's Blackjack, 18+, begambleaware.org.